Welcome back to Modern Jubilees. In this very important video, I want to talk about where did the ancient Canaanites come from. Some people say that the Palestinians or the Arabs or the Muslims living in the Holy Land originate with the Canaanites. And some say that they're from the Philistines or the Amalekites or the Jebusites or the Phoenicians. People say all sorts of things, but people think of the indigenous people of the Holy Land of Israel to be the Canaanites. And I want us to understand where these Canaanites came from. So I'm going to actually show from the PDF of my book this very, very important portion of the Book of Jubilees. We are inside of chapter 10 of the Book of Jubilees. And here it talks about Canaan. Canaan was a son of Ham. Ham was a son of Noah. Noah had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Japheth was given the north of the earth, where it is cold. That is Europe and Russia, essentially. Ham was given the hot areas, which is most of Africa, basically until the Blue Nile. And Shem is given the middle of the earth, where it is a blend of cold and heat. And this is where the Holy Land is. And this specific piece of the Holy Land is given to Arpachshad, son of Shem, in chapter 9 of Jubilees, and later promised to the son of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the land of Israel, the promised land. But there were Canaanites in that land, but how did they get there and who were they? Canaan was literally a son of Ham, and he had made this oath that he would go and settle in the land that was promised to him. Canaan was given as a portion the western part of Africa. So instead of settling in the western part of Africa, what he does is something else. He seizes land wrongfully, and this goes against, again, the oath that Noah and his sons make in the presence of an angel, in the presence of a holy judge. And here's what happens, and this is the story. Ham and his sons went to the land that he was appointed by Lot to occupy, in the land of the south. Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good. He didn't go to the land of his inheritance to the west of the sea. Rather, he settled in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan and from the coast of the sea. His father Ham and his brothers Cush and Mitzrayim said to him, "You've settled in a land that isn't yours and that wasn't appointed to us by Lot. Don't do this, because if you do, you and your sons will fall and be cursed in the land due to your insurrection. By insurrection you settle, and by insurrection your children will fall. You will be rooted out forever. Do not settle in Shem's place. It was given to Shem and his sons as their lot. You are cursed, and you will be cursed more than all the sons of Noah, by the curse that we bound ourselves in oath in the presence of the holy judge and in the presence of our father Noah. But he didn't listen to them. He stayed in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entrance of Egypt, he and his sons, to this day." And to this day is obviously meaning when this book is being given, which is with Moses on Mount Sinai with an angel. There's an angel with Moses on Mount Sinai who is giving Moses the Book of Jubilees. Moses is communing with God on the mountain, and this is how we get the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses, the Chumash. But there's also this holy Book of Jubilees preserved by the Ethiopian Jews and Christians in their holy texts, and it was lost in the original Hebrew in its fullness. And the Latin versions also were not preserved as well. The Gez versions by the Ethiopians are preserved the best, and that's how we get Jubilees. And this translation was made using 2 Gez to English translations that were over a century old, translating it into modern English, using the modern English versions of the Torah, of the Pentateuch, from Kaplan and Steinsaltz, because much of Jubilees is quotes and references to the book of Genesis mostly, but also some of Exodus. Okay, let's get back. He didn't listen to them. He stayed in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entrance of Egypt, he and his sons to this day. For this reason, that land is called Canaan. Japheth and his sons went toward the sea and settled in their lots, etc. So this is what's going on. Canaan seizes that land wrongfully. He settles in that land. Him and his nations that come after him, and the Phoenicians that stem from the Canaanites at the end. These are all Hamites who were not supposed to be in that land. They made an oath with their father Noah that they would not settle in that land. They end up settling in that land, and that's why they have a curse. And that's why when the Israelites are commanded to conquer the land, they are told that there is this curse on the nations living there who are by now practicing terrible things like child sacrifice and idol worship and need to be conquered. And what we see also when we're looking at who are the Palestinians, we see that if they want to claim to be Canaanites, Phoenicians, Jebusites, etc., they're Hamites, they don't belong in the land, they need to go back. Same for the Philistines. The Philistines who lived before they settled in the Gaza area, they were living in Kaftor, which is known today as Crete. They were Kaftorites. And Kaftorites, as well as these Philistines, are Mitzrayimites. They came from the ancient Egypt area. They were from Egypt, they were from Mitzrayim. This is all written out in the Bible and Jubilees, who these people are, who they are descendants of, where they come from. So far the Philistines and the Canaanites and the Jebusites and the Phoenicians, etc., they are all Hamites. They don't belong in that land. They're not supposed to be in that land. Phoenicians, Canaanites, Jebusites, Philistines, they all come from Ham. And then what we have is the Edomites and the Moabites and Ammonites are settling in that area. Moabites and Ammonites on the eastern side of the Jordan. Edomites south of the Dead Sea, west and east, is where they settle, and they actually have a kingdom. While the Israelites are enslaved in Egypt, the Edomites have a kingdom south of the Dead Sea, west and east, in southern modern Israel and southern modern Jordan. And so do the modern-day Palestinians descend from Moabites, Ammonites, or Edomites? Maybe some of them do. And this is why before the conglomeration of all of the different people who were in that land, which wasn't that much, but of the people in that land, they gathered together and said, we're going to be Palestinians now because we don't want the Zionists to have their own state, because then we won't have Islam from the ocean to the ocean to the next ocean. And so until then, there were great rifts between the Muslim people in those lands. They didn't intermarry with each other. They had very deep feuds with each other. And this is where they're rooted to. They're rooted back to these days. These are very different people from very different nations. And the Amalekites are, I think, wiped out by now. But if there's any descendants, they're not pure Amalekites. And then in terms of Samaritans, some people say that the Palestinians come from Samaritans. That would mean that they are Israelites mixed with Assyrians. If you want more on this, go check out the full video on who are the Palestinians. But the Samaritans would by now be so intermarried with other nations that they wouldn't count as Israelites. A big part of what the nation of Israel is that it's set apart and told not to intermarry. It's a big deal when they do intermarry. And there needs to be a conversion process for this whole thing that God wants. This is God's story. This is God's plan. This is God's mission that God gives to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to be a nation set apart for specific purposes that are written out and explained throughout the Bible and Jubilees and beyond the scope of this video. Arabs, which some of the Palestinians are, pure Arabs. If you're a pure Arab, you probably know it. But if you're intermarried with other nations, then you might be many different nations. But the main idea is that the land of Israel belongs to the nation of Israel. This is very clearly written out in the Bible and Jubilees. So now we understand where the Canaanites come from. They settled a land that isn't theirs and that does not belong to them, and they are therefore cursed. And so there is no such thing as the indigenous people of the land of Israel other than the Israelites, according to the Bible. Understanding that in the Bible, Israel is a child of Arpachshad, who is between Abraham and Shem, and this is the land promised to Arpachshad. Arabs are from the Arabian Peninsula. That's where they're indigenous to. That's where their holiest sites are, whereas the nation of Israel's holiest sites are all within the land of Israel. Jerusalem, Hebron, Tzfat, and Tveria are the 4 holy cities of Judaism. Tiberias, the holy city of water, Tzfat, the holy city of air, Hebron, the holy city of earth, and Jerusalem, the holy city of fire. And so it becomes very, very clear as we look into who the indigenous people of the land are and who the Palestinians are. We understand this story. We understand that Arabs are close cousins of the Israelites, and that real Arabs who understand who they are, that they are children of Abraham, love Israelites and are open to peace with Israelites. And this whole idea of Islam made things a little complicated because anyone who was not Muslim was deemed a dhimmi and not allowed to live in the land, and it's so bad to be a non-Muslim. But what does it mean to be a non-Muslim? At the core of Islam is the idea that there is one God. There is one God, and God has his prophets, and there are these holy texts, and that's really the essence of all of the major religions that are Abrahamic faiths. And that's what we need to focus on, that connects us, that we believe in one God, that we connect to one God. We have shared holy texts, and we can study one another's holy texts because they belong to humanity, because they're so ancient and well preserved by nations like my own and others. So let us know if you have any questions. I want this to be a short video, and God bless you for listening. God bless you for caring about this very important topic. Who are the ancient Israelites? Who are the modern Palestinians? And who were the ancient Canaanites? And now we have looked at the original source in the Book of Jubilees to understand Canaan seizes land wrongfully. He never belonged in that land in the first place. He was not indigenous to that land. He was cursed. He was not allowed to be in that land. And so who is meant to be in that land? The Israelites. And where are the Arabs supposed to be? In the Arabian Peninsula. They're welcome to be in Israel. 20% of Israel, 21% of Israel now is Arabs. And so if you are a blend of other nations, Moabite, Ammonites, whatever it is, in Israel, you can be a citizen if you were there. The definition of who is a Palestinian by the UN is just anyone who lived in the land of Israel, who was living there 2 years before the nation became the country of Israel. So even if you only moved there in the year 1946, but you were not Jewish, according to the UN, you're a Palestinian refugee. And not only that, but all of your descendants now are Palestinian refugees. So the UN has become a very messed up entity, and they should really just be shunned at this point. There's many terrorists among them. The heads are terribly Jew-hating people who have no knowledge of God, who have no knowledge of the Bible. And so what this conflict comes down to is the Arab-Israeli conflict. The conflict comes down to, are we truly the nation of Israel who belong in the land, or are we imposters? And are you truly Arab Muslims who are children of Abraham, or are you imposters? Because if we are both truly who we say we are brothers and sisters, we are family, we love God, we love the Bible, and we love God's prophets, and we can create a world of peace, we can create a region of peace, and we will. As soon as we don't allow these external people and forces to separate us and cause hatred and division between us, which apparently is what is coming from the other side. The other side, the mastema, as it's called in the Book of Jubilees, the Satan, the evil forces, the evil inclination, that which wishes to divide, that which wishes to not allow us to build the world of peace and beauty and glory to God that we aim to as children of Abraham and children of God. So God bless you once again for listening, and thank you for your support. Please subscribe, interact with this channel and this content, and thank you so much for your support. God bless you again. This is Modern Jubilees, and we will see you next time.